What's going on, everyone? So one of the biggest mysteries we still have to unravel is Christopher. What happened to Christopher, right? No, he lost his mind. He snapped, right? Victor is tracked down Jasper, his little companion, his little dummy, ventriloquist doll, and yet we still don't know whatever happened to Christopher, right? He just seemed to have vanished, disappeared, right? Did he turn and become one of the monsters? Right? Like, we haven't seen all of the monsters close up, right? Like, who knows how he evolved if he did become one of the monsters. Did he just, like, crawl away and die somewhere? Is he still alive out there somewhere? And maybe, Victor or somebody ends up stumbling across him at some point. Is he a spirit that ends up coming, right? We've seen, like, the boy in white, the kimono lady, right? Does he a spirit that ends up presenting himself to Victor to help Victor kind of figure out the ventriloquist doll or get the doll to talk? Is he inside the doll, right? Like, there's so many possibilities that are out there. Or could it have already been solved and we're just waiting to get that bit of information? What I mean by that is Elgin goes on his journey and it leads him to the cellar. And the cellar is of significance because, it's popped up in every season, right? It's where Julie ended up escaping through, Jade ended up finding the body crushed by a boulder in there. We've seen that cellar continuously pop up season through season, moment by moment. Elgin ends up going down a path to where he ends up ending up there. Here's some knocking, checks the cupboard, nothing in the cupboard, thinks like, there's nothing here, gets ready to leave. Here's the knocking again, moves the cupboard, and then finds a door. Goes through the door, and there's an entire room. There's an entire domicile there where somebody was living there, and there is a body on the floor. Now, the body is a male body. The body is that of a human, and you see that there is a beard on the body. It's in male clothes. Could that be Christopher? Now, Christopher, in all the images we saw, didn't have a beard, but if after the massacre he kind of just went there, locked himself away, maybe Jasper, the doll, is alive. What if Jasper magically pushed the cabinet there to lock him away or something? Because Jasper we've seen, and for those that are like, Jasper would be strong enough, the doll apparently can talk and animate and do all this crazy. Like, that would be the least weirdest thing if Jasper was able to kind of like push the cabinet in front of the door. Like, what if Christopher just went and crawled into this space to go and hide, or maybe ended up getting locked in there or something and started to whittle away, right? The beard part of it, well, if he couldn't shave or he couldn't do anything, eventually he's going to grow a beard, and it wasn't like this super long beard, right? So it talked about the potential with it being Martin, right? But Martin had this like very long beard. And, I gave reasons why and why not. I don't want to go too much into the Martin idea because I did a whole video on it. So check out that video after this video, of course. But Martin you saw with the very long beard. Well, if Christopher was in that place, how long is he going to be able to go with surviving? He a bit more heavy set, right? So, like, he probably would live longer than somebody, like say a Fatima if she was in there, right? So, you got to imagine that he could potentially grow some facial hair and live and last long enough to have that sort of beard. And to me, I do think that does make a bit of sense, right? Because there's two ways really that this plays out, right? One, not specifically with Christopher, but with that room. So either one, the body in there means something and it's somebody significant, or B, the body means nothing and it's just about the room, right? The room is what is of significance and importance, right? And that the kimono lady took him to the room just to find the room, not the room and the body, or the body specifically. But to me, it'd be a little disappointing if the body was just some throw off, right? If it was just like, this is just some random character that just got locked in here and died. Right? I'd like it to be somebody of significance, something of importance, right? Kind of solve one mystery, and you kind of solve the Christopher mystery, right? So you like kind of put, because one of the things, like, there's so many questions still. It's like, are they ever going to be able to answer all of it? Right? And this is kind of one of those things where it's just like, yeah, it's not like a huge question that needs to be answered, right? Like, you could argue the ominous questions of, like, where is he? Did he die? Is he out there still? Is he alive? Like, what's the deal with Christopher? Right? Like that, and I think you can argue is kind of fun in and of itself, right? The mystery element of it. It's not really a question that I think has to be answered. Right? There's like several things that I think have to be answered. But Christopher, I don't necessarily think that. Maybe you get what happened to Christopher through Jasper, right? So maybe you get that dialogue when Victor eventually gets Jasper to talk. Whenever Victor is able to kind of get Jasper to spit out what he needs to spit out and tell the story that he needs Jasper to tell, maybe then you kind of get like, oh, well, what happened to Christopher? Where's Christopher? Or maybe you find out Christopher's alive somewhere, right? I do think that that's probably the most likely scenario, but until we find out who the body is and what the body is and whatnot, right? Like the possibility of it being Christopher, I still think is incredibly high. And I do think it's probably the most likely, right? I think it's either Christopher or it's just kind of a throwaway body, right? Like I even said in the Martin video that I'm not like super sold on it being Martin. Now you could argue that, that in the dungeon was Martin's just kind of spirit, his essence. We've seen that on several occasions, right? And the body itself is in that cellar or in that room in the cellar. But I do think the idea that that's Christopher makes more sense than anything, right? Like he's just wearing jeans, which we see Christopher wearing, and then like a flannel shirt, right? Which Christopher we see kind of in kind of like a polo type, long sleeve. So it is something that you could see them wearing, and it's not like they have this just like treasure trove of clothes and stuff that they can just, it's not like they can just go to the local store and just pick up some new gear, right? They're just kind of wearing whatever's available, right? So I could see Christopher kind of in that ensemble, right? That we see the body laying. Like it's not like Christopher only wears cowboy gear and that's not cowboy gear, so it's like that can't be Christopher. No, like even the clothing could be something you could see Christopher wearing and using, right? And so the idea of like Christopher committed the massacre or was a part or reason for the massacre, I don't think he did it himself. Like he was the one hands-on that did it, just because, you see the body. It was led to believe that originally. Then when we have the callback, the flashback, you see how the bodies are torn apart like as if it was eaten by like the monsters or, ripped apart by the monsters, right? So I think maybe he was the one that caused it, unless maybe he was the first monster, right? Maybe he turned into the first monster and he's still out there as a monster. Maybe he leads the monsters. Maybe he's kind of the king of the monsters. That's always a possibility. But I could see that he did what he did, ran away, went into hiding, and then either A, maybe he locked himself in there, or B, he had Jasper or one of the monsters or something like that lock him in, and because he did what he did, and the monsters are kind of like, hey, let's see how long he can survive, right? Like, it just kind of became an afterthought. I could see something like that, and, like I said, as for the beard, I just think, if he's in that room for who knows how long, right, he could very well kind of grow some of that beard. So I don't see it being that far-fetched that is Christopher, that Christopher ended up being in there and then the body ended up dying and, decaying over all these years, especially because think of how long it's been since Christopher would have been alive. At this point, that body would be skeleton at that point. Again, I think it's either two things, right? The body has significance, or the body is irrelevant, it's just the place. And the body is just to kind of have us do what we're doing right now, having conversation, kind of diving into it, exploring theories and ideas, get us as a fan base talking about it till the next episode. And then I could see in the next episode, we kind of figure out and find out like what the deal is. So that could be kind of interesting in and of itself. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that body could potentially be Christopher? Do you think, like Christopher, he could have easily, after he did what he did, ran away, went somewhere into hiding, and then also you could argue, now that I think about it, like the guilt. Maybe he was in this type of trance or, just out of his mind, and then committed the act and helped be an accomplice or personally taking everyone out, and then just decided, like, I don't want to live like this. I'm going to be all alone anyway, so I might as well just isolate myself and just kind of wither away, right? Kind of as like his punishment to himself. I could see something like that. And then it makes sense. Like Jasper just kind of goes off and goes by himself. But I guess, again, the kind of things that are popping in my head in real time is Jasper, right? Wouldn't he take Jasper in there? Although, you could argue that, like, okay, well, maybe he just wanted to get away from Jasper. Maybe that's why he locked himself in there. Maybe he locked himself in there to get away from Jasper, because of Jasper kind of putting it in his head what he needs to do. But anyway, again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. We enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.